Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are unpacking a really fascinating story called Twin Melodies, a clash of generations and genres. It's a tale that's going to strike a chord, pun entirely intended, with pretty much anyone who has ever tried to balance family expectations with their own personal passions. We're going to explore exactly what happens when the heavy, sacred weight of musical tradition collides head-on with the vibrant, chaotic joy of modern fusion. It is a brilliant look at identity, art, and the generational divide. So let's jump right in. And we're starting right in the middle of the action. We meet our main character, Shruti, who is absolutely rocking out on the violin. She's surrounded by her bandmates in this super high-energy rehearsal. You've got Iqbal on the flute, Avinash on the tabla, and Peter on the keyboard. And listen, they aren't just playing your standard classical pieces here. They are playing this beautiful, complex Indo-Western fusion. You can practically hear the joyful blending of these different cultural sounds just by visualizing the scene. For Shruti, this is her safe haven. It's a space of pure creative freedom. But of course, that freedom doesn't exist in a vacuum, which brings us to a brilliant reflection question posed by the text. Is there any difference in the choice of music between children and elders? Think about your own playlists versus what your parents listen to. This question perfectly frames the core tension of our story today. How exactly do generational divides shape the music we love? Because for the older generation in this story, music is a strict discipline, bound by centuries of hard and fast rules. But for the younger generation, it's a playground. Keep this in mind because it is the engine driving the entire plot of Twin Melodies. To truly wrap our heads around this divide, we first need to look at the tools of the trade, specifically stringed instruments. In classical Indian music, and honestly in Western music too, stringed instruments hold a place of immense respect and historical weight. They aren't just, pieces of wood and wire. They are heirlooms passed down through generations. They're the literal tools artists use to channel their heritage. And for our protagonist, Shruti, her instrument is the absolute center of her world, but it's also the source of her greatest anxiety. Let's see how this pressure builds. Out of all the stringed instruments out there, Shruti plays the violin. But here is the massive catch. Her connection to the violin isn't just a fun after-school hobby. It connects her directly to her father. And her father happens to be the famous master violinist Nabin Sharma, who's also the principal of the Sangeetika Music School. So when Shruti holds that violin, she is literally holding her father's legacy in her hands. That adds a massive, crushing layer of pressure to every single note she plays. And that pressure is definitely building. The text actually uses the word crescendo here, which is defined as a piece of music that gets louder and louder. But in Twin Melodies, this isn't just some musical term. It's a clever narrative device. Shruti's band is hitting a major crescendo, not just in their music, but in their rising local fame. Their secret is getting louder, and the inevitable clash with her father is approaching its absolute peak. And that crescendo breaks into the public eye in a big way. Her bandmate Iqbal reads this out loud from the Parbapuri Daily Clarion. The local newspaper has just published this glowing review, exclaiming, "Melody runs in the veins of Miss Shruti Sharma, daughter of the master violinist Nabin Sharma." Now, any normal teenager would be totally thrilled to be in the paper, right? But ironically, this public praise sparks the central conflict of the story. By tying her modern fusion performance directly to her traditional father's name, the newspaper has basically lit a fuse. So instead of being thrilled, Shruti is absolutely terrified. She uses a very specific, incredibly heavy word to describe her father's potential reaction: desecration. It means disrespect towards something sacred. Shruti knows her dad will consider playing Western tunes on the violin a complete desecration of the instrument. To Nabin Sharma, the violin isn't for fun little fusion experiments. It is a sacred vessel for classical art. Mixing it with Western keyboards is, in his eyes, profoundly disrespectful. Her bandmates, however, just don't quite grasp the gravity of her father's strictness. Avinash and Iqbal casually dismiss her fears, telling her that the worst that can happen is a little scolding. They encourage her that she must simply bite the bullet, meaning to force yourself to do something unpleasant or difficult. They push her to just go ahead and tell him about their upcoming concert, assuming parental love will easily conquer musical ideology. But man, are they drastically underestimating Guru Nabin Sharma. Let's break down the intense ideological clash at play here. On one side, we have Nabin's strict devotion to classical Hindustani music. He firmly believes that music relies on solitary, highly disciplined practice of traditional ragas and alaps. It is all about purity and individual mastery. On the exact opposite side, we have Shruti's love for Indo-Western fusion. It's collaborative, it's experimental, and it's joyful. It's not just a disagreement about what sounds good, it's a fundamental clash of values regarding what music is actually for. And when Shruti finally does bite the bullet and confronts her father in Act 2, that clash explodes. His rigid traditionalism is on full display as he flatly rejects her request to perform at the upcoming concert. Listen to his words. "No is the answer. You know my rule. One performance in every 6 months. More than that, familiarity breeds contempt." He approaches art with an incredible scarcity mindset. To him, overexposure cheapens the art form. He shuts her down calmly, but with absolute terrifying finality. Now, I want you to contrast that heavy, formal, unyielding strictness with Peter's joyful rhyme during their rehearsal. Shruti Sharma for the win, sweating on the violin. It's goofy, it's lighthearted, it's incredibly supportive. When you place Nabin's cold rejection next to Peter's playful cheering, you instantly feel the whiplash Shruti is dealing with. One world demands perfection and silence, the other offers friendship and fun. But Naveen doesn't just say no to the frequency of the performance, he essentially insults the very nature of her music. When Shruti timidly admits it's an Indo-Western fusion concert, Naveen is appalled. He dismisses her entire band by calling it a mere hubbub of an orchestra. He tells her that drowning her individual style in a hubbub is hardly a wise choice. To a master soloist, the idea of blending his daughter's talent into a chaotic group of modern instruments isn't just bad scheduling, it is an artistic tragedy. He's deeply disappointed that she would lose her sense of musicality to such an extent. This brutal rejection leaves Shruti in an incredibly tough spot. First, her father outright refuses permission. Then, to make matters worse, her mother Leela catches her lamenting about her hidden practice classes. Caught red-handed, Shruti is forced to promise her mother that she will do no more hiding. With her parents clamping down and her permission completely revoked, the band's entire upcoming performance is suddenly in total jeopardy. If she can't play, the fusion dream dies. This brings us to the emotionally charged setup of Act 3, and one last practice. As we move into this final section, a heartbroken Shruti arrives at Iqbal's house for rehearsal. Her friends are super eager to start, asking if she finally told her parents, but Shruti has a secret plan. In a really poignant moment, she reflects on how much she truly loves performing this fusion piece. She decides internally that she is going to play her beloved music with her friends just one last time, to really savor it, before breaking the bad news that she has to quit the show. And that beautifully dramatic moment leaves us right on the edge of our seats, ending on one final, provocative thought straight from the text. Will Shruti's father go for the rehearsal? Will the strict master violinist actually bend his rigid traditions to support his daughter's modern creativity? Or will the twin melodies of classical and fusion remain forever divided? It is a fantastic question that really challenges us to think about how we bridge the gap between respecting our heritage and forging our own path. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I hope this deeper look into twin melodies leaves you eager to find out for yourself.